And it's time now for a motion to adjourn with host MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson. And a pleasant good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you?
Good afternoon, Brother Darrin, and good afternoon, Bermuda.
All right. Dwayne, are you there? Hello? Oh. Go ahead, Chris.
Yes, good afternoon. How you doing, Brother Darrin?
Oh, that's good, my brother. Oh, it's good.
And Happy New Year. This first show of the year.
Yes, we're back at it once again.
Yeah, and we're starting off the year with a bang. Today, we have as our special guest the acting, I say that with quotation marks, the acting Commissioner of Police, Mr. Darrin Simons. Commissioner, are you there?
Good evening, Mr. Famous. I am here, and good evening to Bermuda.
Happy New Year to you. How are you?
Happy New Year to you. I'm hanging tough. Living the dream, as I like to say. Living the dream.
Okay. I don't know if anyone in your position should say I'm living a dream, but hey. So, just as a brief intro of the commissioner joined the police, the Bermuda Police Force, as it was known then, in 1993.
Yep, that's correct.
And the last 29 years, he have worked his way up the ranks from wearing a blue shirt to wearing a white shirt to now acting as the Commissioner of Police after completing a prestigious strategic command course in the UK.
Yep, that's correct. You got me checked.
Got you checked. Yeah, as they say, book 'em, Daniel. So, Commissioner, how are you doing today?
I'm doing quite fine. Grateful to be doing the job that I'm doing. Every day is a new day. Every day is a fresh challenge. That's one of the particular things that I think I've enjoyed. Reflecting back on the 29 years, and obviously you're really good at the math because I had to think about that for a second. One of the things that I think is really positive about a career in the Bermuda Police Service is the opportunity to do many different things or to have many careers within a career. And to be honest, I never sort of saw myself being in the position that I am when I joined 29 years ago. In fact, I often thought it would be nice to be the inspector in the training department because that was something that I actually particularly enjoyed, and I thought I would be able to lend a positive hand to. And here I am, many years later, the Deputy Commissioner of Police, and hopefully, aspiring to be the Commissioner of Police.
Well, let me just say that I don't know you personally like that, but I, along with many others, are happy that you are in the position that you are in.
Thank you very much, and notwithstanding any potential outcomes, I'm committed to doing the best by my community, and I'm grateful for the support.
All right, so let's just dive right in it while we have you, because not often we get to interrogate the police commissioner. But,
I thought you said this was going to be okay. This is going to be just a little bit of back and forth. You didn't use the word interrogation.
Yeah.
That was then. This was now.
Yeah. I'm the good cop. Dawn is the bad cop. So, Commissioner, acting commissioner. How do I address you? Acting commissioner. How do you want me to address you?
Acting commissioner, I suppose, or Mr. Simons, or Darrin, if you want,
All right. So, what are the, I'm going to say BPS, Bermuda, because when you joined, it was Bermuda, and subsequently it's now changed to Bermuda Police Service.
Yep.
Right. So, for the course of this show, you'll say BPS to cut down on the,
yeah.
That doesn't mean beat per second, see? So what are the top priorities of the BPS right at present?
So I think when you're looking externally, first of all, I would say that we do have a strategic plan, and we kind of set a bit of that out there. But when you're looking externally in terms of what we need to do around making Bermuda safer, the priorities would be reducing serious crime and protecting vulnerable people, raising confidence in the police, because if the community isn't confident in the police, they're not going to give us information. Our job becomes a lot harder. Crime becomes a lot harder to solve. Reducing harm on our roads, obviously that's very topical today. Also, this notion of working in partnership. So, I mean, you would have heard that, I think, in many industries about partnering with other entities, in terms of policing, other community entities, in order to address issues. And the other one would be develop digital policing. So, we really need to deliver value for dollar. In the current economic climate that we need to ensure that we're doing the best we can with the resources that we have, and taking better advantage of technology and entering into what we call the digital policing era. More forcefully, if you like, more visibly, where it becomes better integrated into how we do what we do, is an important part of making Bermuda safer.
Okay. So every year people set out these, what they call New Year's resolutions. Yeah. Somebody says, hey, I'm going to, save more money.
Yeah.
You say, fine, that's great. Then you say, how you plan? Then you watch them for a week, and you're like, well, how you plan on saving money? You're just spending the same. So everyone has to have a plan.
Yep.
I never was involved with the police. I was involved with the Army. Everything in the Army is by the book, by a plan. What is the plan for the BPS to reach these lofty goals that you spoke of, one of which I want to circle back on later on?
Okay. So if we kind of take them all in turn, which, it's a bit of a list, so feel free to kind of interrupt me. When we look at reducing serious crime, obviously there's the bread and butter in terms of enforcement, in terms of catching, convicting, individuals for crimes that they've committed, but we need to develop some capacity within our unit. So one of the things we want to do is increase investigative capacity and capability through some clear succession strategy. We want to increase particularly our investigative training so that we can grow more investigators in Bermuda. That's one of the kind of global challenges in policing, in that there's a dearth of investigators. And so what's happened in some policing circles are people saying, well, investigators and sort of response officers, they get paid the same amount of money. Why would I want to go into investigations for all that additional work for the same amount of money? So it's attracting people by providing clear career opportunities, increased training in that realm. So that's one of the things that we want to do. We want to invest in our public order and firearm regimes. One of the key pieces is also conducting sort of victim-focused investigations that deal more effectively with serious and organized crime, and really get into the dealing with financial crime in terms of taking the profits out of crime. So those are some of the things that we want to do, besides like the obvious in the area of reducing serious crime, and a whole bit of work around vulnerability. So vulnerability in policing is something that you hear a lot about. So you've got victims who may have sort of mental health challenges. We've got, victims in the domestic abuse space. We've got children victims. And these are a category or a class of victims that don't always have as strong a voice. Or there are some dynamics in their situation that make it harder to bring out those harms, and often hidden harms. So we want to train our investigators to better identify and recognize vulnerability, and give them the skills and tools that they need to work with those population groups for better outcomes.
Okay, so I want to circle back to something you spoke of in your your top priorities, one of which was increasing cooperation with the public when it comes to investigations, correct?
Yep, sure. We can talk about that.
Okay, so in some societies, many societies, sometimes people are reluctant to share information with the police for whatever reasons it may be. No specific case that I'm speaking about, but just in general.
Yep.
Part of your plans going forward, what are the strategies to persuade people to cooperate without them thinking, oh, my name's going to get out there or whatever?
Well, that speaks right to the sort of strategic initiative about raising confidence in the police. And, obviously police officers have a key role around safety in our society, but it really requires the community's support in order for us to achieve that. And the community are only going to support us when they see us as treating people fairly, when they see us as treating their information confidentially, when they see us as visible and effective guardians, when they see us as responsive to their needs and concerns. And so we're putting energy into those particular areas so that the community sees us as worthy guardians of their safety and worthy of their trust. So that's sort of on the confidence side. And then when we just talk about generally working in partnerships, so some of the things that we're starting to do right now is I'm going to be putting in some efforts to visit some of the local churches and hopefully share just a couple minutes within the churches about some of the challenges we see and what the churches can do as an organization and what individuals, let's say, within the churches might be able to do. We're also reaching out to some of the sporting communities to one, sort of be really, and the churches in the same vein, to really be clear about, thanking them for what it is they're already doing in the community, and just asking, let's say, coaches and the like, are you having conversations with your players about gangs and the impacts on gangs in society and the need to help the police, work with the police in terms of solving crime or reducing the likelihood of it happening? Just a little bit of training around what we call adverse childhood experiences and what is like resilience factors that encourage positive outcomes. So one of those resilience factors in the life of young adults, children, is a trusted adult relationship. We know that one really positive relationship between a child and an adult, and it doesn't even have to be a parent. It could be a neighbor. It could be a grandmother. It could be somebody, from a faith-based group who just makes an investment in the life of that individual and communicates that, hey, you're worth my time. I care about you. Some general kind of direction about making positive choices can really change the trajectory of the life of a child. So for us, it's kind of like working with the community, building their confidence and saying, here's some things that you might be able to do. So, in a very broad sort of perspective, that's what we're doing. Specifically, let's say in the domestic abuse space, we want to form a multi-agency approach around that. So that's about partnering with other government entities, other sort of third sector, if you'd like, entities, and just working collaboratively together to examine domestic abuse and see how we can work better together. That'd be another example of partnership working.
So
I don't know if that answered your question. Did I kind of hit the mark?
Let me spin that another way. Not spin it, but truncate off of that, all right?
Yeah.
In building these relationships with other community partners, for lack of a better term, would you say that this helps to give your officers better intel on things prior to them happening, or even after they have happened?
Sure, and that's part of some of the direct relationships. Obviously, we make an investment in the community policing part, and that is about building relationships. Make your friends before you need them, and in the hopes that they have trust and confidence in you to share information. And we see ebbs and flows around that. You would have heard us talk about in some recent media releases, hey, people haven't called us, and there's been some really tremendous response in relation to those media messages, and people have come forward, something that we're particularly grateful. So we're always looking to be seen as confident and capable by members of the community, so that they feel that they can trust us and tell us things. But also, it's about building those relationships before things go a little off the rails, so people feel comfortable contacting you.
Okay, so thank you for that. Let's go to a different section here.
Yep.
As we know in America, or England, or wherever, there's this new technology. We wouldn't say new-ish, right? But
yep.
Body cams.
Yep.
That, as they say in the media, roll the tape.
Roll the tape,
so
yeah.
What are your views on body cams?
I am I'm a cheerleader for body cams generally. I think every police officer should have a body cam and use it in the majority of their interactions, I think, with the public. One, in sort of offense encounters, it has a moderating influence on the person the officer is dealing with, and there's no doubt about it. It has a moderating influence on the officer in terms of their engagement with the person they're with. And it provides an opportunity to go back and, look at the tape if you'd like, and just see exactly how things went down, and that's about being accountable and transparent in your interactions with with the public. So I am a very significant proponent of body cam, and it was interesting. So when I can't remember the date, but we've had them for a fair number of years now. And when we first introduced them, there was a little bit of hesitancy, quite frankly, on the part of officers. And now they're just like, hey, where's my body cam? I absolutely need, to go out there, with that body cam, because it just it's been shown to reduce complaints against police. It's been shown to reduce incidents where use of force is an issue. So I'm just a very significant proponent of body cams.
All right. So let me ask this, or let me play devil's advocate here. No recent case in particular, but just say hypothetically, police were accused of something.
Yep.
And the police strenuously, as they say, we strenuously deny these accusations, blah, blah, blah. Why aren't we seeing the body cam to say, hey, the footage, to say, hey, see, this is what really happened?
Yeah. Good question. So I think the answer to that is, there's a couple of responses to that. Number one, if the matter is going to go before the courts, there can be some challenges created, particularly if identification is an issue and you play body cam footage, for the entire community to see, you may begin to impact the court case. Creates defense opportunities. You might say that you have prejudiced the view of any potential juror, let's say if it was a court trial. So I think there are some of those legal issues, which, to be frank, aren't always, in every single situation. I also think that as a jurisdiction, we're just kind of conservative around that. And you're quite right to say, hey, look, you look at the U.S. and even in the UK, maybe a little bit less so, but it does occur. It's like, film at 5, and that just happens more frequently. I suspect that over a period of time, we might come into a space, or there could be a particular incident where there is such public concern or crisis of public confidence that, film at 5 is the way we go. But the likelihood is that decision would be made in consultation with the DPP, just to consider privacy issues and the impact on any potential court case. But I think to be fair, that the public are beginning to kind of expect that when they look around in other jurisdictions, that kind of a thing does happen. And I wouldn't be surprised that in time we see more of it. We see it occurring in Bermuda too.
All right. So on a related note, what about the police vehicles? Are they going to be equipped with dash cams?
So we actually.
Or do you advocate them being equipped?
I'm a strong advocate for that. So the short answer to that is yes, but. So obviously budget is a bit of an issue, and we really did. I asked my technology guys to come up with a solution for in-camera video, and I think I'm going to say almost all, or certainly many of the vehicles have in-camera video that's rolling. It's just constantly rolling. It's not the most robust sort of commercial system that you would see in probably other jurisdictions, but it's enough to get us, to get us going. So we do have them, but we really need to upgrade that system to make it, more robust, if you'd like.
Okay. How much more time do you have?
I'm good. I think as long as my wife's happy that I get home a little bit after dinner time.
Okay. All right. So, moving along. We're all living in COVID situation. How has COVID affected your manning powers?
That's actually quite topical. I've been having that conversation literally today. So heretofore, we've been actually quite okay. So we've put out a couple statements that said, yeah, we have absence, but we're managing. And when it got really significant, like maybe 30, 40, maybe I don't know if we hit 40, but 30, 40 officers down. So we would have to take people from sort of less critical frontline operational duties into the front line so that response policing was always maintained. What we're finding with Omicron, and I do mean yesterday, today, this week, is that it has affected, whereas previously it would kind of be across the entire organization, so you'd have ones and twos in pockets, distributed. What we're finding with Omicron is that it's hitting like a unit, and a unit would on its own experience maybe 4 or 5 absences. And the challenge with that is it's one unit. So rather than just replacing, a couple people that are spread across the organization, you've got an entire unit or not an entire unit, but you've got a portion of an entire unit, and finding ways to get everybody on that new shift or enough people on that new shift, that's proving to be a little bit challenging, but I'm very confident in saying that sort of frontline delivery hasn't been impacted, but we're just having to be a little creative in how we backfill that space, because so what happens is people are due to show up at 8 o'clock and 4 or 5 people aren't showing up, and you only know about it maybe a couple of hours before. It's the suddenness, and it's not all located, but it has been located in one unit. So we're coping, but definitely Omicron is a slightly different variable, and I think that's because this variant is so much more transmissible. So when one gets it, it spreads much quicker, and that's what we're seeing. And if you've got one in the environment, given how much like at work, and even when they're wearing masks, if they've been together, you really have to quarantine a group, and that's that for Omicron, and it's literally just happening this week. We're having to cope. It's just a slightly different dynamic. It's causing us to change how we respond and be able to be quicker in our response to the absence. That's the issue, is being able to be quicker in our response to the absence. But so far, we're doing okay.
Okay, we're gonna thank you for that. We're gonna go to a quick news break, and then we'll come right back after that.
Yep. Okay.
You're locked to Power 95, Bermuda's big station, at 94.9 FM, a Bermuda Broadcasting Company station.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gray Miners with your top stories to the hour, brought to you by Butterfield.
Research, trade, and manage your investments anytime, anywhere with Butterfield's self-directed online brokerage. Invest and trade stocks in real time independently or speak with Butterfield's team of experienced advisors who can provide professional guidance on investment decisions to help you realize your financial goals. Contact us via email at invest@butterfieldgroup.com or call us on 299-3817 to get started. Your platform for growth. This is Investments by Butterfield. Butterfield Asset Management Limited is licensed to conduct investment business by the Bermuda Monetary Authority.
Rapid coronavirus testing, currently the standard surveillance method used in private schools, is set to be piloted in the public school system next month. In October, the international business sector donated $281,000 to purchase more than 99,000 lateral flow test kits, but the Ministry of Health is yet to roll them out to public schools. Travelers seeking a rapid antigen test can now go to a government testing site operating out of the Washington Mall. The Washington Mall testing site is open between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. And those were your top stories to the hour, brought to you by Butterfield.
And good afternoon to you guys once again. Go ahead, Chris.
Good afternoon, Acting Commissioner. I now turn you over to that gentleman that you were looking for earlier.
Sorry, I don't know if you don't mind. Just wanted to. We were talking a little bit about the impact of COVID, and I think there was just one more quick point, if you don't mind, if I could make. Is that okay?
No problem.
Yeah, I just think the other one. So we talked about the absence piece, and that I think we're coping well, but Omicron makes us have to respond a little bit quicker. The other challenge though is 2 years on COVID fatigue. So with the longer period of absences, you've got let's say smaller groups of numbers that are carrying the same amount of workload, and without a doubt, just the impact, which will be everybody in the community ostensibly. The things that we used to draw comfort from, spending time with friends, going out, movie, dinner, bar, restaurant, et cetera, traveling overseas, all those things have been drastically curtailed, and that plays out, I think, in officers and just how they feel about coming to work and just having to deal with fatigue. And I walk through the halls quite often, and that is an observation that I would make, is that people are tired. They really are tired, and we're still in this marathon. We've still got to push forward. And one of the things that I think are very important to me, outside of sort of like the strategic plan or the external facing parts, is staff wellness. So within the organization this year, we're going to be talking a lot more about staff wellness. Like, I like to think of it as eat, move, sleep, that, because those are some of the things that, contribute, to wellness. And then obviously you've got mental health challenges, and we talk about, are you okay, and trying to check in with each other, in the organization. So that's one of the things I think moving in, not just since, in 2022, but before also, that we really need as leaders in the organization to focus on, and that's staff wellness, that they still feel engaged, that they've got enough gas in the tank to carry out their roles and responsibilities. So
yeah, I think on that note, that's a good segue to Darrin, because he had wrote a piece a few weeks ago about the effects or the need for us all to check in on mental health. And I think at times people believe persons who hold public office, let me put it that way, or in certain positions, are immune to breaking down mentally, right? So, Darrin, over to you, sir.
Hello, yes.
Mr. Robinson, good night.
Hey, how are you? Sorry, I'm trying to listen in, but it's technical. My ear
it's
right
great when it works.
Yes, exactly. I just wanted to kind of take a different tact here, as far as getting a bit of insight into the issues that you might be facing as a police force with this new spate of violent crime and road fatalities.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
Obviously this is a heavy topic for the community, but I wanted to just get a bit of insight. So, do you believe that the police right now, at their current state of funding, is able to properly tackle this violent crime spree that we've been having lately?
Right. So I think we're right in the middle of budget cycle, so we don't exactly know what the next budget is going to look like. And I'm obviously in conversations with the minister about what I think the needs are, and we're working collaboratively to give the best of resources to solve those problems. I think when you look at some of the successes that we're having, I think we're well positioned. Nobody's ever going to turn away additional resources, but I'm confident that we can do what we need to do. We're about to do a recruit foundation course, which will bring our numbers up to about 400. And I think once we have that, which is going to be that's about 25 more people. So we're down because of COVID, really not being able to run recruit foundation courses to deal with people that retire from the organization, et cetera, general attrition. So the impact of 25 more officers, which is within our budget, is not to be underestimated.
That's good to hear. And just from the perspective of the police, what do you feel is your police force's biggest hurdle as far as tackling crime in the community? What do you find, if you could say in 2 or 3 points, what would be the main hurdles to jump, and how do you think that can be tackled?
So I think, clearly policing has a role to play in the catch and convict space. So when there's actual incidents of violence, our ability to respond to that, our ability to prevent those, where we can, is very much the space that the police need to be in. But I really think as a country we need to look at why we're like in gang 2.0, gang 3.0 in terms of evolution of different people who are really at the pointy edge of committing these violent acts. So what can we as a community to sort of stop new gang members from appearing on the scene, right? Because if we don't stop growing gang members who are willing to do some really horrible things, we will be in a constant cycle. And when you look at now we have almost generational trauma, right? So we've got people in the community who are traumatized, who have had adverse childhood experiences and are now drawn towards this gang lifestyle. So I think as a community we need to look at what we can put in place that will make us more resilient and encourage more positive outcomes in terms of the lives of the young people. And that's usually around things like financial security, trusted adult relationships, feeling engaged with the community, and participating in sports groups and church groups. So those are some of the resilience factors that are going to reduce gang members. And notwithstanding all of that, right, that's actually point 2. Point 1 really is community confidence. The community really needs to feel confident in their police service and trust them to provide information, because the community has all the information probably to prevent incidents from occurring, and certainly to help us catch individuals once things have gone wrong. So for me, the number one thing is community confidence and what we need to do and what we can do to continue to grow that. And obviously the police always have a role to play and will continue to work in the prevent, detect, catch, and convict kind of space.
Yeah, thank you for that. And just moving on to the roadside sobriety, there was conversation in the community as well that, whether or not gazetting or letting people know about the roadside sobriety checkpoints was effective or not. Would you mind sharing any insight into that from your point of view?
Oh, I tell you, you're really giving me these tough ones. So I mean, as a police officer of nigh on 30 years, I have some very clear views on that. But I just really honestly have to be mindful that the law is the purview of the lawmakers. So rest assured that both my minister and the Minister of Transport are engaged around that particular subject. And we are sort of discussing. So I'm right now, we are preparing a document to look at other jurisdictions where they're at. There is some very interesting research about the impact of roadside sobriety testing out there, and what that research says. And I intend to present that to my Minister of Transport at the very least. I think roadside sobriety testing has, without a doubt, had an impact on the psyche of motorists, if you like. And I think you probably see a difference in driver behavior on the days when roadside sobriety testing is announced, and maybe different on other days. So we're just going to do some statistics around that and present that information to the leadership.
That's good. And
yeah, so I mean, because you asked me a really clear question, and I've kind of given you a little bit of a political answer, but you just really kind of sort of need to appreciate that law is in the hands of lawmakers. And we get in a room and we have some conversations, we have some discussions, and at the end of the day, it's the lawmakers that make the decisions about the laws that they want in the land.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, I was looking more so for like effectiveness, than the politics of it all, because you always want to trust the people whose boots are on the ground, right?
Yeah, but and so one of the things that we want to do is, for example, look at was there ever a how many arrests for impaired driving are made on days when there is notification about roadside sobriety? How many arrests are made on other days? Are there any road traffic fatalities where we suspect impairment on days where we were advertising roadside sobriety, and what's the impact on the days that we're not, and just bring that data together and hopefully have some insights from the local context, to contribute to that discussion. Because you're quite right. The facts are the facts, right? So you can have an opinion on something, but, obviously facts need to be brought into the conversation.
Yeah, and I appreciate your answer too, because I wasn't trying to put you in a bind, but it is something that has been discussed, and many people, not so much political, but just people are just wondering, about that particular thing, especially because we've had quite a few fatalities this year. So I think people are kind of looking for any sort of solution or change that can kind of, obviously it's not all on the police, but it's part of it. It's part of the equation.
Yeah, no, and when we talk about reducing harm on our roads, so for us it really comes into a couple of different areas. So we're going to talk about we're going to talk about enforcement, and that's clearly our space. We own that space. We need to be accountable around that space. And so we've been doing Op Vega. We've been really pushing that, and that's Op Vega is as much about internally with our own officers, continually sort of, keeping that on the forefront of their mind in terms of some accountability around performance there. So that's just making sure that we're not losing sight of that focus, and that people, when they go out on patrol and they're not dispatched to a particular job, that they're focusing on reducing road harm. But it's also about communicating, everybody knows Op Vega, that's about traffic enforcement, and it covers the whole gamut of traffic, right? So we clearly have a role to play in the enforcement space, and I think we're doing a good job. I can't remember the last statistics, but we're something like, I want to say either 4,000 or 4,500 tickets since Op Vega commenced. So I'm very confident in that enforcement perspective, but that's not we can't really ticket our way out of this problem. So it's not like a one and done. The other piece is, education, and we're working with the Road Safety Council, and I know, Minister of Transport working with the Road Safety Council to get some education campaigns out there, and you may have seen some stuff like on YouTube videos. And the other one is just general influence. So having a little bit more of raising the profile and getting influencers within the community to talk a little bit more about drivers' attitude and driver choices, on the road. And I think it really is a longer term objective. It's not something that we didn't get here overnight in terms of driver behavior. One of the things that I sort of reflect on as a police officer is, when I was younger in service, it tended to be younger people, just not driving appropriately. And when I just travel the roads, I'm just stunned at who is making these poor driver decisions, and it is a cross section of the community. So clearly, attitudes have changed. We didn't get here overnight, and I don't think we're going to get out of it overnight, and I don't think that we can ticket our way out of the change that's required. But clearly enforcement has a role to play.
So, Acting Commissioner, let me ask a question.
Yep.
In any job, high-stress job, persons have to have a way to decompress, right?
Yep.
Obviously, with what we've seen, not all of us, of what's been happening in our country over the last, apart from COVID, with the road traffic accidents and the acts of violence, whether they be fatal or not, because not every act of violence ends up in a fatality, but all acts of violence, the police have to attend to these things.
Mm-hmm.
Your officers and yourself, what do you, not, you can't answer for them, but what do you do to decompress from the stress?
That's a very good question. So, and to be real sort of honest, that is a bit of an epiphany that I have had that's, I don't know, maybe 3 months old, three months old. So for a couple of years now, I've been personally sort of working to reduce, my weight, because I think you need to stay healthy. And weight's a significant part, and I've been successful at it, but I really haven't been too good on the, on the exercise front. And I've just really for the past 3 months or so put a lot of energy into exercising because of wellness. And the thing that I tell, because I'm telling people in the organization about this journey that I'm on, or this, this thing that I'm doing, it's like, I tell people, it's like, man, what they've been saying about exercise is true. It really is true. Like, when I don't go out for my walks in the morning, I just do not feel as good. And that really, for me, is, obviously, spending time with family, spending time with my cousins Craig and Jean-Ann, just because they might be listening to this, and decompressing, from that kind of way. So for me, that's really, that has been, oh my goodness, that's a major change that I've made that has a dramatic and positive impact on my performance and sense of well-being. The other thing is, within our organization, we have Occupational Health, and our Mrs. Wellman, she's always keen, and our chaplain, Mr. Santucci, or Reverend Santucci, I probably got that wrong, are keen to, they go around the organization and they are asking people, are you okay? And are you checking in? And from a leadership perspective, in the coming year, we're going to be talking about eat, move, sleep. So we want officers that are eating more healthy, that are moving more than they did yesterday, and sleeping better than they did yesterday. And we've already started in the organization to work or to provide information and encourage officers around sleeping issues. Obviously, I'm a little bit older now, and I find many of the conversations I'm having with people, there are a lot of officers, shift work ain't helping, that's for sure. There are a lot of officers that are experiencing some challenge with sleep, so we're trying to help people, to our not just officers, but all our staff, to sleep better. So to answer that question, I think, it's about, wellness, focusing on your fitness as opportunities to de-stress. Other people will have different things, but it's really encouraging healthy ways to decompress, and as an organization, really trying to look into wellness on the part of our staff. It is a priority in the strategic plan, and it's a priority. Just having realized the stress of this job, this job in particular is stressful. Things go bump in the night, and your mind is sort of racing. Okay, how am I going to respond? Is this one where we need to stand up in front of the community and say something? How do the officers feel? Make sure I'm checking in with people who have had a difficult shift or a negative experience at work, just so that they know that we care. I care. So that's probably a long answer to a fairly short question.
No, it's because I mean it goes back to your earlier point, is building relationships, right? It's like someone is in any capacity, right? And they just see the person through the lens of whatever capacity they're in. And that's just one segment of their life. And part of building a relationship with persons is getting to know them as a person, or as much as they want to share about themselves. And that alone says to somebody, hey, he sounds just like me, to some extent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
I totally agree. And especially with COVID, it does make it a little bit harder, but it's so important.
So, thank you for sharing that. Darrin, you have any other questions?
Just a slightly hard-hitting one.
Oh, you mean your other ones work?
I do.
All right, go for it. Bracing for impact.
So, I mean, we've had, obviously the road fatalities and the crime has been kind of on the top of the radar, but there's a third issue that the community of Bermuda really is struggling with, and that's domestic violence.
Yep.
And, I just wanted to ask, in 2022, especially after this recent incident that was very unfortunate, what can we look forward to from, the police as far as, kind of tackling this specific, and especially, obviously during the pandemic, it's probably exacerbated because, folks are either on quarantine or, people are sometimes, unable to get distance from people.
Yep.
Especially if they're in this sort of situation. So I just wanted to ask, what can we look forward to in 2022 to kind of tackle that from a policing point of view, and maybe even some partnerships to get some preventative measures in place.
Right. So thank you for that. I did actually touch a little bit on that in the beginning. So under our partnership banner, and actually, as a result of this most recent and very tragic, murder, that actually gave me pause. So I met with our domestic violence liaison officer, and I just said, listen, how are we doing, on this front? What could we do differently? What can we do better? Where's the areas that we need to, just to get better on, so that we are more approachable, that we're providing a better service, and ultimately we're protecting people. And then I met with some of our community partners to get that same feedback. And, without sort of telling any tales out of school, one of the things that that was identified across all those conversations, common theme, was that we just need to, one of the things we need to do is work with our officers to make sure that they are compassionate, that they recognize vulnerability. So we're very clear, I want to say, good at when we walk into a situation where there's domestic abuse and you see injury, right? That's cut and dry for us. But domestic abuse takes place in many forms, and being able to recognize that and be sensitive to it is I think, an area that we need to develop our skills in terms of when we interact with persons who are the victims of domestic abuse, helping them to feel comfortable with us so that we can build their confidence so that they share that information. So there's that an internal piece that we want to do. The other piece is other jurisdictions have just had some very horrific incidents that had they simply been joined up and they were sharing information across the spectrum of helping agencies, it should have easily been able to be identified. And one of the things that I'm keen to do is establish in Bermuda a MARAC, which stands for Multi-Agency Risk Assessment. I can't remember what the C is, like team or community or something like that. But it's where the representatives from the agency come together on a regular basis and just say, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm seeing. We have the same thing for children. We call it a MASH, a multi-agency safeguarding hub. For children, it's a little bit easier because there's mandatory reporting. When you're talking about adults, you have to get a person's permission to share. So that's a little bit of a hurdle, but that will be down to the individual agencies that have that first contact to develop that trust so that the information can be brought into the MARAC and everybody has a more holistic view of the situation and you have a multi-agency approach to solving it. And I also think, in terms of just some education in the community, and I see, there are a number of ads that will talk about, the challenges around domestic abuse and highlighting and raising our awareness around that. And I'm certainly very supportive of that and would like to encourage, more of that. So in the new year, that is what we're like to do. So training on the part of our officers, a multi-agency approach to domestic abuse, are the two things that I plan to advocate for and achieve in the next.
Thank you for that. That's it for me.
No, Dwayne, that's it for you? Wow, I'm shocked. So, Acting Commissioner, we want to thank you for this interview. I just got a WhatsApp messages from one of our faithful listeners. She says, excellent interview, especially some of the latter parts that you spoke about.
I'm grateful. I just want to take because, oh, sorry.
Hello?
No, sorry. I thought you stopped.
Sorry, say that again?
No, I thought you'd paused.
Yeah. I said I want to thank you because one of the guiding principles of this show is to keep the people informed. And a vital part of our community, obviously, is the Bermuda Police Service. So you are the first for the year, and I would hope that you're not the last for this year to come on and speak about what the BPS is doing and how are they coming along, not with any specific case, obviously, but with building these community partnerships and probably even some of your officers from your specialist units could not come in, obviously, but call in and speak about some of the work they do, or obviously not the confidential stuff. So on and so forth.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't realize I was the first this year, but yes, thank you very much for that opportunity. Funny you should sort of mention about keeping people informed because amongst the senior command, it was interesting. We all came back to work on, what was it, Tuesday, I think it was. And that was a topic of conversation. We just, we individually were just getting some feedback that, people don't know what you're doing. And because they don't hear what you're doing, they assume you're doing nothing or not enough. So if you look at our, I think, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook page, you see that we've recently started to try and drip feed little bits of, hey, we're here. We've done speed checks. I know one of them was the sheet that the officer was writing down, and some of the speeds were like 91, kilometers an hour. So we're trying to do a little bit more around drip feeding. You will definitely hear from our domestic violence liaison officer, and if you want to get early dibs in on that, I'm happy to for her to to come on the show and just share some of what she sees and raise people's awareness and share what she's doing and the services that she offers. So that's really important. That's really important to me. So I know we've got all this strategic plan and we talked about these directions, but I got to tell you, the thing that for me, what it really boils down to, I mean, I know we're here to solve crime and make Bermuda safer. Let's be crystal clear on that. But for me, it's this whole notion or concept of community confidence. And that doesn't mean that the public knows that we're going to get it right every time, et cetera, et cetera. But, when they go home at night, when they put their head on their pillow, they're just comfortable that their police service is in it for them, that their police service is capable, and that they feel confident in our service so that they trust us and give us some information. So for me, that's like really a number one kind of thing. And I think if I had other closing comments to make, it would just be to really thank the community, because we do see overwhelmingly the community's support. We cannot solve these serious crimes without the help of the community. And when you look at our track record in terms of solving them, it's pretty good. And it really is down to people stepping up, coming forward to share what it is they know, because they have trust and confidence in the women and men that they're speaking to. So I want to thank just the community generally for their support. Feel free to reach out to us. There's a lot of ways we can be contacted when you're not happy with our service. One of the things you're going to see as a result of the strategic plan is we do public perception surveys, right? But I want to hear from individual people who have just experienced our service. And was it good? What could we do better? That kind of stuff. So we're going to look at a way that we can kind of get direct feedback from people who have just experienced a service or a contact with the BPS. And so,
can I give you some free PR advice?
Sorry?
Can I give you some free PR advice?
On the air or off?
It's on the air. It's all public now.
Please,
just
free PR advice.
On Mayor's list.
Sorry, say that again?
Have one of your officers standing by on Mayor's list to interact with the public.
Okay. All right. I'll give that some thought. That's one of the things that, funny enough, we just had that a little bit of conversation. So we're trying to consolidate the amount of places that were out there. But, I mean, you're right. Mayor's list is a place where people are at. And they keep it real there.
Yeah. One way or the other, right?
One way or the other. But I appreciate the feedback and have that chat with Gary tomorrow.
All right. Well, Acting Commissioner, any closing remarks, Darrin?
No, I just knew Gary's going to say, "Don't listen to that boy."
I can hear him now.
That boy came a foolish boy. Well, Acting Commissioner, I want to thank you on behalf of our show, and more importantly, on behalf of the people of Bermuda. And we look forward to at the very minimum, quarterly interactions with the Bermuda Police Service.
All right. Well, you'll hold me to it.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, that's something that's very doable. It is very much on our mind. We just need to do more to share what it is that we're doing and invite feedback. So that's fully supported by the command team, and yeah, keen to do that.
All right, Darrin, I'll leave it to you to thank you, Acting Commissioner, and take care of your health. See.
Thank you very much, and I wish all of you a good night, and Bermuda a pleasant good night.
All right, thank you. Darrin, you want to close us out?
Yes, thank you so much, Commissioner. You have a good one, okay? And this has been Mission to Adjourn. So we will be adjourning for now until next week, Thursday, the 13th. Here we go. Wait for it.
And you have been listening to Motion to Adjourn with MP Chris Famous and Dwayne Robinson.
to Power 95, Bermuda's big station at 94.9 FM, a Bermuda Broadcasting Company station.
Playing your favorite jams real loud. Whether it's hip-hop, R&B, reggae, or old school, we play it loud.
That's just how we do it.
Because we got the power. It's Power 95 FM, Bermuda.